Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
I am that dude, Bodkins.
Yeah, DP lost like, deep. Yeah.
Right. Where he's wondering, he's like, I can't.
Patty. One style, like no weight classes.
Yeah, basically, like I said, there's been a couple guys that are like,
it's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy.
That's just not my mentality, bro.
Yeah. Leave the ladder down. That's my always like, hey, somebody helped you out. Why not help somebody else out? Return.
Give a big round of applause for the one and only Bodkins Show.
Or bringing Craig Counsell down the interstate. In a move unexpected. I had people.
I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the Bodkins Show. It is our weekly dump show where we dump everything out from anything that you got some problems with in the world of life, music, sports, whatever it may be. First thing I got to dump out is I see a lot of people complaining about the fight on Friday night, Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. I tried telling y'all. I said, what the fuck y'all think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? If you thought that fight was going to be competitive, then that's on you. That is on you for thinking that this fight was going to be something, that you were going to see like prime Mike Tyson walk out into the ring. Nope. It was not prime Mike Tyson. Nope. It wasn't 2004 Mike Tyson. I tried telling y'all the man was 58 years old. The fight wasn't going to be competitive. It really wasn't. It was a sparring match. And, it is what it is. The only thing you can bitch about is the Netflix freezing up. Now you know what it's like to have my internet every once in a while where it freezes up and things are just circling. Netflix is going to have to fix that because they do have the NFL coming to town and they got the WWE coming to town. They got to fix that. If you want to bitch about something, bitch about the internet, bitch about Netflix having to figure this thing out. They damn near broke the server. They said, 28 million people tuned in. It would probably be a little bit more or try to tune in probably if, had the internet had Netflix been working. I had to turn it onto my phone and then it actually worked better when I turned it to my hotspot than when I had it on my internet. So there's that. But we'll see, what Mike doesn't seem like he wants to retire. Mike, please go away. We love you. Thanks for all the memories, but nobody wants to see you fight. You're damn near 60. So I don't really know what's next for Jake Paul on that end. I don't really care so much. It'll always be he should fight a real fighter and this and that. But people, if you don't bitch about the fight, I'm just glad people got to tune into the co-main event real quick because those two ladies, Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, absolutely put on a fucking war. And people who didn't know, and I tried telling people, tune into the co-main. That's the main event. That's the fight you really want to see. It's going to be the most entertaining fight on the card, and it damn sure was. So, I'm just glad people got to tune into that. But I'm glad you guys are tuning in. And, of course, with me on every Sunday morning is my guy, Mr. Johnny Cruz.
What's going on, bro? I'm glad you mentioned this fight here. Like we talked about it before the show. I honestly forgot about it the day of. Leading up to it, I had, everybody was talking about it on the radio and stuff. So it was one of those, I'm interested only because it's one of those, you're driving down the highway and you're wondering why there's so much traffic, and it's because everybody's rubbernecking to see the accident on the side of the road. So it's kind of one of those, everybody wants to see what could happen. And I'm not going to front, being a kid of the 80s and stuff, Mike Tyson, you know what I'm saying, was the best boxer I had ever seen. He was a scary fighter. So
Hey, what year did you say, Johnny?
in the 80s. I mean, I was
1980s?
born in the 80s.
Yeah, the
In the
80s, right? That was,
Yes. That was
30
40
almost
years
40 years
40
ago.
years ago. Basically.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, you know what I'm saying?
People thought they were getting that Mike Tyson.
Right. And again, I'm with you on that one. If you thought it was going to be something like that, then that's on you. But my only interest in it, and I didn't even check it out. I know that there was a lot of internet issues
Nick Scott.
with Netflix or whatever. What's going on, Scott? But the only thing that I was interested in was, can Mike Tyson just catch him in the first round and knock him the hell out? You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of people, I'm sure, were looking into that. But, I figured if it kept going into the third, fourth, fifth round, he's 58 years old, people. Come on now. You know what I'm saying? He's in phenomenal shape. Props to Mike for being in the shape he's in at 58. But to actually go in there and to think that he's going to be prime Mike Tyson was just ridiculous. So, I mean, if you got some entertainment out of the fight, good for you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're disappointed about the actual fight, I'm with Nick on this. I don't know what you exactly was expecting from a 58-year-old. Hell yeah, that was a fight. Shout out on that one, Scott. The Hagler Hearns fight.
Yeah.
And those fights, I mean, those were just battles. Those guys were just going at it all the time. But you got a YouTube guy, and props to Jake Paul for what he's built and his marketing and getting to this point to be able to market something like this to I think he got like 40 million for this fight. So I think Jake Paul is chilling and he's straight. And Mike, of course, got paid for this, but I'm just surprised, honestly, that it was actually a sanctioned bout. So it legit goes on Mike Tyson's record, which is ridiculous, but not that he really cares about that right now. But when you're doing 2-minute rounds and you're doing 8 2-minute rounds, like when you're adjusting the norm for a fight, then it's not a legit fight. I mean, again, it's sanctioned, so it's going to count, but it was basically a glorified sparring section. So it is what it is. Like I said, I would have loved for Mike to have caught him and knocked him the hell out, but I'm sure that wasn't in part of the script. I mean, excuse me, part of what was supposed to happen there.
Right. It wasn't. I mean, it shouldn't have been. I've been on record saying it should have been sanctioned. But one thing that has stood the test of time is you grease some pockets, and it's going to take care of some things, especially in the life of boxing. So that those types of things have been going on for a long time. But I mean, Mike didn't get killed, like he didn't get knocked out. So kudos to him. Jake Paul said he was kind of pulling his punches, making sure, but who knows? You know what I mean?
Right. And who knows if Mike was pulling his stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because again, I know he's 58 years old, but he's still got mad strength in those fists. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
But again, at 58, you knew once he got past the first couple of rounds, it wasn't gonna be that much of an entertaining fight. So but like again, props to Jake Paul for what he's done. But bro, if you truly want to be legit, then you need to start fighting some true in their prime right now fighters, and see what you can do. You know what I'm saying? If you're that serious about boxing, if you're just about making money, then keep doing what you're doing, bro. Because you know what I'm saying, he's obviously doing a good job making that money right now. So props to him. But I was one of those that was a little fearful for Mike. Again, you know what I'm saying? He was from my childhood, so it was just like, damn, 58 years old, and you know what I'm saying, God forbid something like that. Like that would have been just horrific. I mean, boxing as a sport itself is already like basically non-existent, you know what I'm saying? But like that would have been horrifying to see something like that. But I'm glad there was some kind of excitement for the fight. Like you mentioned, I'm glad that the undercard got some attention there. I'm a fan of boxing. I miss boxing from back in the day. Thanks to Scott for mentioning those fights, you know what I'm saying, from back in the day, because those were entertaining fights. I miss boxing like that, but it's just not – boxing is just not in the forefront anymore. It just is what it is. It takes a 58-year-old Mike Tyson to get people hyped up about, you know what I'm saying, a boxing match that if you want to call it a legit boxing match, it took them bringing Mike Tyson at 58 to get some type of hype for it.
Let me ask you this, because like back in the day, and this is like early on. Now this is like kind of before my lifetime. It, do you think like you're talking like how boxing was like really, it was like therefore, especially in the 60s, 70s, and even the 80s, like it was the number one sport. Do you think like some of that has changed because they went to the pay-per-view model, and it's not like on, we're not getting calls like on CBS and like
Right.
NBC, you know what I mean? Like where the whole world can tune into this heavyweight fight.
Yeah, I think that was the beginning of it, and I think that does have a lot to do with it. Because all the fights would be free. You could just watch it on regular, network television. The fights back in the day. And then they got into like the HBO Sports, and they started doing it. But once it got into like the real pay-per-view, so thank you to the promoters, and because that's all they cared about was making money. So once it went into pay-per-views and you're paying $40, $50, $60, and I guess now it's probably like upward near $80 to watch a fight. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. So the casual fans, the ones that would be excited to just watch it, ain't gonna dish up $50, $60 to watch a fight for one fight or one in particular boxer that you want to see. You're paying $50, $60 to watch all these other fights that you don't give a shit about, and then your fight don't come on till 11, 12 o'clock at night. You know what I'm saying? And then back in the day, like when they started doing all the pay-per-views for Mike Tyson, like you had to make sure you sitting there watching that first round, because it could be over that quick in the first round. So you just pay $50, and saying you got up to go grab you got up to go grab a chicken wing, and then next thing you know, you're saying the fight's over and shit, and it's like, wait, what the hell? But I think that is a big part of it. But I think the promoters messed with it a lot. I think the fact that there's 87 different belts is a big part of it too. You know what I'm saying? I think if there was some type of an actual like commissioner type to like kind of rein it all in, I think it could, because it is fun and entertaining to watch skilled boxers go at it. But now it's turned into much more of just an event and a show, whatever. I mean, Canelo Alvarez has been probably the best fighter for the last 7-8 years, and like he gets no type of, what I'm saying? There's no outcry to watch his fights and stuff like that. There's no big show. You know what I'm saying? Like it is what it is. So
yeah, part of it is we've had this conversation too, and we've had it on the Head Kicks and Haymakers. Like the problem is like with especially with boxing, there's too many entities as far as like too many belts, too many organizations, too many promoters. Now there is one guy that is kind of slowly bringing these super fights together, and that's Turkey Al Sheik. Because he has, nobody has more deeper pockets than him, so he can put all these major fights. But I will say, I wonder going forward if like, because we just talked about it, 227 million people try to tune in and to watch Jake Paul fight 58-year-old Mike Tyson. Will other fights be free on Netflix? So they're getting more eyes. You know what I mean? Now, I don't know how that pay works out. Like, Netflix would have to pay these guys, or maybe Turkey Al Sheik has to pay those guys. But, that'll be the interesting part, is how the gate and money is worked out. Because obviously, part of the money that they get is from these pay-per-view shares. But it going to Netflix, where it's pretty much free not behind the paywall, that part will be interesting. But I think you could go back to that, and to where boxing could become, more popular again.
Yeah, I mean, I think something like that would help its popularity for it to get. It's never going to be what it was back in the day in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I think I think MMA has taken over as far as like the fight scene, the fight part of entertainment and sports. But I think something like that could bring draw back interest into watching boxing if there was more structure to it. If you actually got to see guys battling each other in their prime, instead of guys avoiding people because what I'm saying, because they're not getting enough money, or just because they're trying to avoid them for whatever reason. So you wind up watching a fight 5 years later than when they should have been fighting, when they were both in their prime. So some type of structure like that would be great. I think it could help it get back into the America's, mindset or thought process to be an option. That's something to watch. But I think MMA has a chokehold, no pun intended, of the contact sport like that type of genre. So, but it'd be nice, man, because I mean, there are some good fighters out there. You just don't hear much about them, though.
Yeah. Real quick, one thing before we move on, I will say this, like, about Jake Paul, like, everybody can shit on him, and rightfully so. Like, our generation will shit on him, but man, like, this kid is a star. Like, my 7-year-old, the next day, because he is past his bedtime by the time the fight started, turns on Netflix to watch Jake Paul fight Mike Tyson. You know what I mean? Like, he's asking to turn on the fight at breakfast time on his tablet so he could watch Jake Paul fight. So, like, the kid is an absolute star. There's, I have teenagers, all the way up. All my kids were interested in wanting to know, hey, who won the Jake Paul fight? You know what I mean? Like, right. He's the B-side for me. You know what I mean? But to them, he is a huge star because of everything that he's done. Through the YouTube world, so like they know who he is. Now, on the flip side, John Jones, the greatest MMA fighter, fought last night. I guarantee when they wake up this morning, not a single one of them is going to ask me if John Jones, who won the John Jones fight.
Right, and that, I mean, like you said, that goes to this generation where a lot of it is social media, YouTube, and stuff like that. So, props to Jake Paul. Again, he is a star. He's extremely popular, obviously, and he's making himself, hella money, bro. So props to him. But that is a big part of it too. You know what I'm saying? And again, that's why it's sad that it took a 58-year-old Mike Tyson to draw this much interest. You would hope, you would think if there was some some good young up and coming boxers, and they actually, again, had some structured way of like really being able to promote them properly and stuff like that, and have people fighting for an opportunity at a title and stuff like that, instead of, again, you have all these different belts and stuff like that. If they tighten all that up, I think it would draw a lot more interest, because of social media and all that stuff. You have so many platforms that you can promote stuff. They just don't do it for boxing, and it doesn't grab this generation's attention to want to watch a boxing match. So. But no, shout out, props to Jake Paul for what he's done and what he's been able to do. My whole thing, again, if you legitimately want to be, looked at as a boxer, then bro, you need to start fighting some like actual boxers that are in the boxing game right now in their prime. But if not, if you're just trying to entertain, which again, props to you and make that money, and keep doing what you're doing, man, because you're doing a hell of a job of it.
Yeah, the goal is, you got to ask him what his goal is. You know what I mean? Like, right. Is it to win belts or is it to make money? Because if it's to make money, he's doing it the right way on that part. Scott wants to know, how would you rate the UFC last night? I would probably give it about a solid 7. Scott, the main card was pretty decent. I mean, John Jones, he gets a 10. I mean, what he did last night was incredible. The co-main event was exciting. The other 3 fights on the main card was, the first fight was pretty good. So I give it a solid 7, Scott. Says Jake Paul isn't a boxer, he's a promoter. That's probably right on the money. He's right. A promoter, and he promotes himself, and he knows the business side. So kudos to him.
Yeah, Johnny, he's doing a hell of a job, man, because he making that money, bro.
Yeah, he is. Let's shift gears to some college football. Man, our guy Tanner's got to be smiling right now because his Kansas Jayhawks upset number 6 BYU yesterday, 17-13. BYU now falls from the unrankings, and I just saw a thing where they're 33% to make the college football playoff. They'll have to play Colorado in the Big 12 championship game. Colorado continues to win. They won yesterday. Looks like pretty much the favorites as far as like the playoffs are concerned. Tennessee loses. Georgia bounces back. Like, how does Georgia lose? They lose last week, and then they just absolutely, with season on the line, beat Tennessee, so to try to keep their season alive. Your takeaway from yesterday's college football is, again, we get closer and closer to this our first ever 12 team playoff.
Yeah, we talked about it the last couple of weeks about the 12 team playoff and all the different scenarios and what could happen, and we kept mentioning that a lot of these teams are going to play each other in the process just to get to the playoffs. So people are going to be bumping each other off. And I'm with you. Shout out to Tanner because he called it a couple weeks ago about Kansas.
Yeah, he's called it all season. Every game Kansas is going to win.
So he hedges his bet a bit. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, saying that was a big win for Kansas. It's going to be interesting to see what the committee does this week as far as their rankings. Again, not that they really matter much. They matter because you need to pay attention to who they're actually keeping in the mix, or even in the 13, 14, 15 spots that can possibly sneak into there. But I mean, you've got 4 or 5 Big Ten teams, and you got like 5 SEC teams all in the top 12 or 15. You know what I'm saying? So those two conferences are the two dominant conferences. But that was a huge loss for BYU, similar to my Canes losing last week to Georgia Tech. That was just a bad loss. They both have opportunities to win their conferences to give them a chance to make it to the playoffs. But the interesting one was Georgia last night with a big win over Tennessee. That was huge for them because that was basically a playoff game for Georgia. They needed to get that win there. So it's going to be interesting to see who moves around in these rankings. But you mentioned it, even with BYU losing that, they have an opportunity to play for the Big 12. So it's going to be interesting to see. Ohio State's playing Indiana this week coming up. Texas and Texas A&M are still going to battle before this season's over. And then of course you got all the conference championships. So it's still there's still a lot to come before we finally get to those final 12. But this is why you can't get ahead of yourselves. You gotta come ready to play each week in college football, because especially late in the season like this, losses now hurt a lot more than if you lost earlier in the season. But again, this is one of the reasons why I'm interested in this 12-team playoff, because a lot of these, 5-12, 6-10 or 6-11, whatever, like some of those may be some really good games, bro. And those teams that do have the home field, to have those, in a playoff setting at home, with some interesting matchups that are possible to happen in that first round of the playoffs. I can't wait to see how it all falls out. But there's still a couple more weeks left to go, including the conference title games. So it's going to be interesting to see because there's going to be a couple of like 2-loss teams that are really good that are going to be left out, and so people are
or maybe even a 1-loss,
even a 1-loss team might possibly get bumped out for a bunch of 2-loss teams. That's going to be wild, but it definitely can happen. So for the people that were saying, 12 is too much, and me and you were kind of in that where we would have been good with 8, but they went to 12. Like, there's still going to be people at 13, 14, 15 that are going to complain about not being in the top 12.
And remember, though, folks, too, like Georgia is ranked 12. They're not, if the season ended like the playoffs ended last week, they would have been out because right. So the rankings matter, but they don't matter. Like Miami is ranked right now, after last week was ranked 9 in the in the bracket they were 3rd or 4th. You know what I mean? So
right, because the conference champions get the bye.
Yeah.
So even if but that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter to those the possible conference champion winners, but it does matter to those other teams that are like on the fringe. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're ranked a little bit too low, you may get some good wins, but you're just barely out of the top 12. So again, it's going to be interesting to see that there's some really good matchups coming up in these next couple of weeks. Again, that Indiana Ohio State one's going to be big. Texas A&M Texas A&M is going to be huge in a couple of weeks. And Oregon, you're saying, I mean, what was it, like a 3-point win they got? They barely escaped. What was it, Wisconsin, I believe?
They
So
were down
again,
in that game like 13-0. I think it was 30. They came back, scored 16 unanswered,
right.
which to only score 16 for Oregon is rare, but 16-13. And Wisconsin's a tough place to play. Like,
Right.
let's not kid ourselves there. But hey, you know what I mean? Like
Hey, at this point, win in advance, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Survive in advance.
Survive in advance. Texas right now ranked number 3, 9-1. And their key win was a 3-point win against Vanderbilt. You know what I'm saying? So like there's a lot of layers to this. But again, there's still a couple weeks left where some stuff can play itself out. But ultimately, I'm excited about the 12-team playoff. And like I said, that first round may give us some really interesting matchups that you might not have seen them playing each other otherwise. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be interesting to see who gets those spots and who's actually in it, because it could get very, very messy if you've got a ton of 2-loss teams and a couple of 1-loss teams get booted out because of the final rankings.
Yeah, Scott, we mentioned Colorado last week. Like, I feel like there's not a lot of hype behind Colorado. They're really good. Deion's got that team playing really well. I think that and they could make the playoffs almost as like underrated, under the radar. It's crazy because like last year, like especially early on, they were in the all-time light, and then everybody shit on them after that because they struggled. But they got this team cooking in year 2 here. This Coach Prime, and Colorado's got a chance to make the playoffs, and it feels like nobody's talking about them right now as far as like the national media, where last year everybody was on them talking about them early, and then everybody was shitting on them late, and here they are this year got a chance if they went out to make the playoffs. So I'm rooting for them. And man, this Heisman chase is kind of down to two people. I feel like Genetti from Boise State and Travis Hunter from Colorado. I know Cam Ward might have something to say, but he's going to need a couple big games here in the next few weeks to kind of solidify his candidacy. He'll get invited, but I don't know if he's the guy.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think that Georgia Tech game, that's just a big wart in his Heisman chances there. If he would have found a way to pull out that game, then I think he's still in the conversation. I'm with you. He might still get an invite, and I mean, who knows? He could go completely insane these next couple weeks, and then in the ACC title game, just go nuts. So I think he'll get an invite. I'm with you on that, but I think it is between the other two kids. I think Hunter is getting so much hype because of the two-way action, playing both sides of the ball. I think he will wind up getting it. Especially
I don't know, that kid from Boise State to me is if I don't, obviously I'm not a Heisman voter, but if I was, like, this kid's in the company of a one Barry Sanders, one of the greatest of all time, and when you're in that company, that means something.
No, yeah, absolutely, that does mean something. I'm with you. That I think, unfortunately, like Brand kind of helps out with that. You know what I'm saying? That's where him playing for Boise State might hurt him a little bit. Whereas I know you just mentioned that Colorado may not be getting as much hype as far as the playoff rankings and stuff like that. This kid Travis Hunter is getting all kinds of hype though for the Heisman though, and that's where that's where Prime honestly shines and stuff like that. He's promoting his player well. I mean, he was in that game when there was no reason for him to be in that game with the last few minutes just to kind of stat pad or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to make a case for this kid who's been phenomenal to get the Heisman Trophy. Yep, I'm with you on that, bro.
He's a promoter as far as like he's promoting his school and his players.
Absolutely.
But he's also been a good coach this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to
have them at 8-2. They've won 4 in a row. They're coming up with big wins. You know what I'm saying? So, and he's got his team with an opportunity to play for a Big 12 title. That's all you can ask for. And at the same time, he's promoting not only Travis Hunter, but his son, of course, or whatever. But I hope they make it in just for the storylines. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see Colorado playing up in there. I hope Boise State can finish it out and find a way to get in. I don't necessarily want, I don't want it to be a 12-team playoff and there's 4 SEC and 4 Big Ten teams in there, and basically everybody else is just fighting for those last 4 spots. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that kind of defeats the purpose of having a 12-team playoff. It's like you got to give, I don't know, putting more teams in there. Different teams makes it a lot more interesting. And again, a lot of these SEC teams and Big Ten teams are going to be battling each other these next couple of weeks, so they could easily knock each other out. But that's where, again, I worry about some of these 1-loss teams that can get looked over by a possible 2-loss Big Ten or SEC team. So it's going to be interesting to see how the committee votes on it and who they put in there. But I'm with you as far as rooting for Colorado to be in there. I like storylines, and that'll be interesting. I want to see Shador on the big stage in a playoff setting like this to see what he's really about in those type of situations. And that goes for BYU. Georgia. All these teams. I'm excited about this playoff. There's going to be a lot of good storylines, and there might be some interesting matchups. So it's going to be fun.
Yeah, good coach. I think it's too soon to say that he can recruit. Yeah, well, and that's a part of being the promoter that Dion is. You're gonna get good players because, hey, one thing that Dion can do is talk and promote, and you're seeing it right now. But you can have really good players, but if you don't put them in the spots to win games, they don't mean anything. You know what I mean? You can have a lot of talent, but you got to coach that talent. And it seems like he's put the right guys behind him, the right guys like in coaches to help him. I think Warren.
I was just about to say, and in college, not for nothing, but recruiting is a big part of coaching in college football. So
that's the number one thing, really. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? But the coaches that you surround yourself with are very important in college football too, especially if you're a head coach who is a great recruiter and that's your main thing. Then you want to make sure you have some really good top-notch, OC and DC or whatever, especially in the college game. These kids want to be exciting and stuff like that. So these offenses have to be kind of wide open and spread out and stuff like that. So having a good coaching staff is important, but recruiting is a huge piece to being a good coach. But I'm still with you. There's still we still got to see some other situations like that. Again, that's another reason why I want to see Colorado in this playoff, to see Prime in those situations where he's coaching in a playoff game. Because there was, there was that crazy ass play by Oregon yesterday where they went for a fake field goal up 3, and that was like the stupidest decision I've ever seen. They were able to get away with it, you know what I'm saying? But like, why are you even putting your team in a situation like that where you're giving Wisconsin an opportunity when you could just kick the field goal, go up 6 and pretty much seal it. But it can, that would suck for the kids if it's a situation like that where a coach makes a crazy decision like that. It costs the team an opportunity at the playoff or even worse in the playoffs. So coaching could definitely lose you games, but for the most part, good coaching usually helps it out, but we'll find out. But there's a lot of, like I said, interesting storylines going into this playoff setting, and I can't wait to see how it all falls into place.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to answer Scott. I don't think he's going to the pros, Scott. I don't really think who he is and how he coaches and his promoter type style fits the college level more than the professionals. And he's also said, like, sometimes you got to let your own kid at that point in time pave his own way. Do I think he might dictate kind of where his son and Travis both go? He's already come out and said that. So, you know what I mean? Like, he's already come out. And then kudos to him too, because he wants to put his kids in the best position to succeed in life and in the league. Like, so he doesn't want them to go to a shit organization where shit coaches and then they just get shit on because they're not ready. So I think I think that's where I'm at on that. So.
I'm with you on that too. I mean, I did make, I think we talked about it several weeks ago where the possibility of Dallas or both of them going to Dallas, like, I can see Jerry attempting to do something like that, but I think I don't know. I mean, Prime's getting paid pretty good up there, and again, his personality and his ability to promote and recruit does a lot better in college than it will in the NFL. So I don't know if he's maybe at some point he may make the jump to the NFL, but I think he's enjoying himself in the college game with these young kids and stuff like that. And again, the fact that Prime can show up in your living room as a kid, come on, man, he's like there's no better recruiting tool than yourself. You're saying you're freaking Prime. You're saying you're Prime. You're Deion Sanders. You're saying like that in itself is a great recruiting tool right there.
I disagree here. I think Shador is a really good quarterback. We all know Bronny James is in the league or got drafted because of his daddy. I don't think that about Shador Sanders. Shador is going to be a top 5 pick, because, or at least a top 10 pick because he's really good. So I disagree with that. And speaking of Bronny James, we'll switch to NBA real quick, and then we'll get into our reviews of the week and stuff. But maybe you said this last week, and I didn't pick up on it, and then it was confirmed this week. This kid's not playing any road games, Johnny.
Nope.
Bronny James in the G League. They're not flying him commercial because, to me, you're doing a disservice to your team, to him. You're alienating him from his teammates. Like these G League guys who are in here. This is like a Michael Jordan rode the goddamn bus in minor league, y'all. Michael Jeffrey Jordan rode the bus in minor leagues. Didn't say, hey, I'm gonna fly private to the stadiums because I mean, by God, he had the money and he earned his money.
Right.
No, he did. Nah, fam. I don't like this bus, but I'm gonna ride the bus with y'all. But we damn sure gonna ride in style because I am Michael Jeffrey Jordan and I can take it. But I'm not gonna annihilate myself from my teammates. Where I think not flying with his teammates and not playing road games is annihilating him from his teammates in his development. Because this isn't like that's not doing him any services. You know what I mean? Like. That's some of the most bonding stuff when even as a high school team, as a high school kid playing is like going on the bus rides, right? Yeah. Like I had a friend of mine, we were talking about it. Like some of our biggest memories ain't the damn games itself. Like I don't remember a lot of the games. I remember the bus rides home with my homies. You know what I mean? Like in the shit like that. Like so those are the type of stuff that you remember. So much less as a G League, and those guys are trying to make the league or on the cusp of making the league. And so to me, it's like, who the hell does this rich kid think he is? Can't fucking fly commercial with us to the road games.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on this. This is it's a detriment to the kid, and there's nobody to blame except for LeBron James himself because he's the one that's orchestrating this whole shit. You know what I'm saying? So no, I agree with you on the question that segued us to this. It is not the same thing. Shador Sanders actually has ability. He looks like a good player. Again, that's why I want to see him in the playoffs so I can see more of him in those situations. That is nothing near what this whole clown show is with Bronny James. Like this is complete. It's complete bullshit to be real. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The kid did not deserve to be drafted at all. And for all the people that say, oh, well, it's the 55th pick, it doesn't matter. He wasn't even the 55th best player available in that draft. It's a complete fucking joke. He just wanted his son drafted, LeBron James. He got him drafted. And for all the people in the Lakers organization and the media that say, oh, he ain't earned shit. The kid averaged 3 or 5 points a game in college. And I know he had the heart thing, and I'm glad that he's okay and healthy. But he should have stood his ass in school and no second round pick at 55 gets a 4-year guaranteed contract either. So again, it's a complete clown show. What's going on with this whole Bronny James shit, and it continues to be, and it's just making it worse. So there's no legitimacy to him being in the league. So all you do, this is all to puff up the fake king to make himself feel good for marketing and for for his own self-promotion. the fact that he doesn't have to travel and that he's gonna basically be in LA. He's gonna be available for them for all of their 41 home games in case they're making it seem like, it's a minor league thing in like baseball, so that in case they got to call him up to the game. Yeah, in case they want to promote him and do some bullshit to have him and LeBron there at the same time. It's total bullshit. It's not. I feel bad for the kid.
I do too.
Slightly, I feel bad for the kid, but at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Like,
he got to be his own man. He got to be his own man and say,
then you got to push up and be like, nah, let me do this. You know what I'm saying? Let me go do this.
Yeah.
But
let me make my own way. Let me make my own way.
You know what I'm saying? And he tried to do that during the draft process where he said he didn't care who picked him. He just wanted to hear his name called. And then you hear on draft night that basically LeBron James and Rich Paul and all of them are calling teams saying, don't draft him. So it's all complete bullshit that what's going on in the NBA. And that's why this league has sucked for the last 20 years, is because of that bullshit that's gone on in this league, because of LeBron James and that whole draft class and how soft the league has gotten. I don't give a shit. I'm going to come out and say it. The NBA fucking sucks right now because of LeBron James and the way it's being played. Like all this load management shit and all this, you know what I'm saying? Like this is it's total bullshit. The game sucks. Nobody plays defense in this league. You can pass, you get an assist. You can pass the ball down low. The guy can dribble for 30 seconds and then score, and you get credited for an assist on that. Like, what the hell kind of bullshit is that? So, the NBA is unwatchable for the most part. Only when you have some key matchups do I even bother to like watch the NBA. But it's a crock of shit. So for all those people that are NBA fans and a lot of LeBron James fans, the fuck out of here with that bullshit. He ain't nowhere near the GOAT. So not to turn the rant into that, but he ain't no fucking GOAT. You can never go into YouTube and find a video compilation of Michael Jordan flopping or Michael Jordan crying about not getting calls. I mean, my man LeBron James was on his hands and knees crying about, foul calls to the referee. That ain't no GOAT.
Hey, that was the ultimate.
Sorry, I had to get that off my chest.
Hey, no, that was the ultimate get off my lawn old man rant right there.
Right.
So.
Right. Like, seriously, there are video compilations you can find of all of LeBron James's flops and shit like that. Like, come on, man. This league is soft as hell, and he's the main representative of that.
Real quick, I do just want to hint at two things. OKC is at 11-2, but now Chet Holmgren is out for a while. And Harstein, your guy Harstein from the Knicks, that was on the Thunder now, he's out too. Like, you got Dwight Howard, 40-year-old, Dwight Howard pounding his chest, say, "Sign me. I can play. I can still play." So they're 11-2 and they're off to a hot start. But man, without Chet and Harstein, like that's going to be a tough task. I know you love Shea Gilgeous, but that's going to be a tough task. And to me, right now, the surprise team. I know we're only 12 games in. The Golden State Warriors, like no Klay Thompson, and they've he's obviously in Dallas now, but man, they look really good. And maybe it's because like Steph is kind of turning back the clock a little bit. Still continuing to do things really well, but man, he is. It's crazy that they're 10-2.
Yeah, they're absolutely a surprise. I think the Rockets at 9-4 are another nice surprise team. But I'm with you on OKC. It sucks. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, it's not too long for the Chet Holmgren thing. I haven't heard any final word on him, but that's a tough loss for them. That's a good, young, fun, exciting team. And you know what? Shea plays every fucking game. There's no load management for Shea. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't need to not play back-to-backs or, you know what I'm saying, whatever the case may be.
It's weird to see that, like, we get these middle-aged guys that are, LeBron and them, but then you got guys like Shea, this young generation, and Edwards, who we're both fans of, like, you know what I mean? Like they're like, nah, we're gonna play every game. We're gonna try to win every game. We're gonna try to do everything that we can do. So Scott says 8 to 12 weeks on Chet. So he'll be back at the start of the he hopefully be back in 2 months time. So I guess that's at the minimum. So
Yeah, and I mean they've got enough good players, including against Shea being an MVP candidate to kind of keep it afloat until Chet comes back. But I'm with you on the Golden State Warriors, and they're doing a smart thing there too, where you know what I'm saying, like Steph ain't taking nights off, but they've cut down his minutes. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that way he can be fresher or whatever. And they're playing good team basketball there. Their young draft picks from a few years ago are starting to develop really good. So it's a good system that they got in Golden State. So it's surprising that they're 10-2, but it's not surprising that they are playing well. But yeah, I like what the Rockets are doing. That's a really good young squad, and I'm with you on the Anthony Edwards, Shea, the Jalen Green kid in Houston for the Rockets. Like this young that they want to play every game. You know what I'm saying? You can even throw Tatum and Brown in that in Boston, Jalen Brunson with the Knicks. Like this generation post LeBron and all that bullshit, like they seem to understand, you know what I'm saying, and actually care about playing every game, and they actually show like they care about the fans. You know what I'm saying? Like that this past generation of player, like they don't give two shits about the fans. Like I said, to have the mentality of, you know, Joel Embiid, and I lump him in that because he's older or whatever. I'm not playing back to backs and all this load management stuff and getting mad about having to play 65 games out of an 82 game season to get an award. Like I'm sorry that they want you to play 75%.
We're sorry, want you to do your
to
job.
go to work, right? To go to work 75% of the time to qualify for a freaking award is an absolute joke. But I'm glad that there's some young blood coming into this league with a different type of mentality, a tougher mentality to want to play every game and want to compete against each other. You're not hearing all these young kids talking about wanting to team up with their friends so that they can make some super team and all that bullshit. So I'm hopeful for the future of the NBA. I can't wait till the rest of these people from this last generation of player get the fuck up out the league already, so that, you know what I'm saying, we can see go back to some good basketball, some good competitive basketball instead of this shit that we've had to deal with for the last 10, 15 years.
Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. Hey, let's get into. I don't know. Did you do a movie review?
No, I didn't, but I did want to let the people know because I did the Penguin TV series that was on Max for which is, you know, it's a spinoff from the Batman, the Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson Batman. The season finale was actually last Sunday night, bro. That they stuck the landing on that show. That shit was that was one of the greatest. Like the emotions in that last episode was so up and down. It was insane. It was intense. It was like that. That's how you do TV. TV shows. That's how you do villain stories. Because let's not forget, the Penguin is a villain. So it was a phenomenal job. Again, I highly recommend the Penguin on Max. If you're a comic book fan, especially if you're a Batman fan, even if you didn't like the new Batman movie, The Batman, this show is phenomenal. The acting in it is great. The writing is just great. They did a hell of a job with that, man. I highly recommend the Penguin on Max. I honestly highly recommend the Batman, and it's going to lead to the Batman 2 that they're coming out with in a couple years, and there might be more spinoffs. So, but no, I'm going to the movies tonight, actually, late tonight after we do our recap show tonight. I'm going to go check out the red one. It's at The Rock.
With Santa Claus.
The Santa Claus one or whatever.
It's getting crushed. The critics are crushed. I don't know.
Yeah, I know the critics are crushing it, but like I've told my kids, I don't listen to that shit because some of the worst rated movies, as far as like the critics giving them, are probably some of my favorites and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't always ride the wave of what the critics like, but I'm checking out the red one tonight, so I'll have a review of that for next week.
All right. Real quick, I meant to mention this a while back, but I watched this new show. It's a movie on Netflix. It's called Time Split. In reference, like this girl goes back. The only real reason I watched it was like a kind of a horror movie, but the girl, like her sister dies in like 2004. So then it's 2024, obviously 20 years later. She's like 18. She never met her sister. and she's in high school, and then like somehow she gets in a time machine, and she goes back into 2004. So obviously, like that's the time frame I was in high school. So I really was just like watching it. I watched it with my kids, like, Dad, you guys really dress like that? And yeah, that was pretty funny. But it's a decent like little like kind of like horror movie. I mean, to watch for your kids. It's probably like PG-13 or something like that. But it was just kind of fun. It was a decent movie. I didn't really like the concept of it's kind of weird, but spoiler alert, like she saves her sister from dying, but then like, that if so she saves her sister from dying, her parents don't want another kid. So then she, then she would disappear, but then she stays in 2004 as like just a person with no birth certificate, no, what I mean? It's weird. Like you really think about it, but it's a movie. It's an enjoyable movie. It was fun to kind of go back in 2004. They kill it with the soundtrack. Like they play the hits as far as like all the major songs that were happening in 2004 or so. So. It was entertaining. So, decently entertaining.
It served its purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It served its purpose.
I've seen
an hour and a half of
movies.
entertainment or whatever. And that was time split, you said?
Yeah.
Right,
or time trap or something like that. It's something time trap, time split it's on Netflix. So real quick, I did listen to the new Jamie Johnson album, Midnight Gasoline. Pretty good. Jamie's a good country singer. I really enjoyed the album. So it was kind of, just one of those like good Sunday morning, like, you drinking your coffee, just got some good music playing kind of albums. So if you get a chance, I would look at that. Let's get into this week's top 5. We rank our best Saturday morning cartoons. So we'll start with you, Johnny. Your number 5 Saturday morning cartoon.
My number 5, and I mentioned it on last week's episode of the Weekly Dump, which again, if you're new, hit that subscribe, smash the like, and definitely turn on your notifications. But I threw out some of the possibles on there because I had a list of a bunch. Again, I'm an 80s kid, so they're all going to be 80s cartoons, people. But my number 5, I'm going with Thundercats at number 5. You say you had Lion-O, you had all. I heard that they're trying to make a live action. I'm worried about that. Like, I don't know how that's gonna play. But again, in the 80s, Thundercats was a lot of fun as a kid. The sword that he had was badass. So yeah, I got Thundercats as my number 5.
Yeah, my number 5. I don't know if it was Saturday morning, but it was definitely a cartoon. And I got Rugrats. Tommy Pickles and the Gang for sure was one of my cartoons that I would tune into. So I got Rugrats, and man, did he hit it right? I don't want no responsibilities, and amen to that, Tommy. Amen to that. So
yeah, I'm with you on that. I definitely have a lot of Rugrats under my belt as far as watching some of that with having young kids at that time. So yes, I've seen a lot of Rugrats and SpongeBob. I'm a big SpongeBob fan, bro. We had our hallway bathroom at SpongeBob for a long time because of the kids. I love me some SpongeBob. I ain't even gonna front.
What's your number 4?
My number 4, and a lot of people may not even know it, but they actually had the Ghostbusters had a cartoon for a few years there in the 80s. Yeah. And it was coming like right after the all the hype and excitement from the movie. So the Ghostbusters was always a lot of fun with Slimer and stuff like that. So I got the Ghostbusters on my top 5. I got them at number 4. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. I remember the Ghostbusters. My number 4 is again. I don't quite remember like if it was on Saturday, but I wrote it down anyway because I remember watching it. It's none other than Scooby-Doo, man. You can't go wrong with the Scooby-Doo gang, the mystery machine team, and I mean, Scrappy could probably get bitch slapped every once in a while, but
yes,
Scoob,
he definitely needed. Yes, he.
Scoob and Shaggy and the gang was the ultimate, the ultimate show. the Weird Al show. The weird, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, Scooby was definitely one of the ones I watched growing up. I mean, that's how far back it's going. This was like a 70s show back in the day. And don't think there wasn't something in them Scooby snacks, because there was.
Right. Hey, Scooby really couldn't talk. We all just thought it, you know what I mean?
Right. Because them Scooby snacks had them seeing shit and hearing shit. So they thought they were seeing ghosts. They wasn't seeing ghosts. They was high.
Yeah. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is G.I. Joe. Again, these are 80s cartoons for me, but G.I. Joe was huge for me. All the battles. I was actually I liked the Cobra Commanders. I liked Serpentor when they brought him out with the whole snake, snake type helmet that he had on. G.I. Joe was big when I was a kid. Had a bunch of the action figures and stuff like that. So G.I. Joe is number 3 on my list.
They have failed the movies when they tried to make the movies.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
they those
like bad, bro. Like those are horrible, bro.
Yeah.
So sometimes you gotta just let it be, man. Like, it was a great cartoon. Just leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? Redo the cartoon, like you know what I'm saying? Like Disney just did a whole bunch of, you know what I'm saying, new X-Men and stuff. Like, do something like that, man. Like, you can't turn everything into live action. Yeah,
it has not gone well for the movies. My number 3 is Doug. Nice. I enjoyed Doug, Captain Underpants, whatever is Quail Man, and Patty and the gang. I always enjoyed watching Doug on Nickelodeon. So
nice.
That's my number 3. So your number 2.
My number 2, I'm going with TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Was one of my favorite cartoons, period, growing up. That first live action movie that they did back in the 90s was actually so much fun. They went with practical effects. With the costumes was great, but that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was so much fun as a kid. That was a given every Saturday morning. You're watching that shit there. I mean, there was a slew of cartoons on Saturday mornings, but the 80s parents was chilling, bro, because all they had to do was just turn on the TV for their kids on a Saturday. They didn't have to worry about their kids for several hours because you wasn't moving. You just staying there watching all these cartoons back to back while your parents did whatever the hell they were doing. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was always a lot of fun. That's my number 2. Yeah,
that's my number 2 as well. TMT. Nice. I had all the characters, had all the stuff. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, my number 1. Number 2. You can't go wrong there. It could have been my number 1. Yeah, man, I loved. You mentioned the live action. So like I've followed this thing. It's called The Breakfast Club, I think, and they break down like movies. I guess like. So the second movie, like they had already got after the first weekend, they didn't have a script, and they already was like, "Hey, go in production for the second one." But if you notice in the second one, it's a little bit more like not as darkish, and it's because it's like the fight. There's not as much fighting, like one punch and it kills the Foot Clan guy, and they don't use their weapons. I guess there was like some moms that weren't happy with the whole with that whole situation about
always got to be somebody ruining this shit.
Yeah, there was Karens out there before there was Karens now. You know what I mean? So like,
right. You know what I'm saying? There was always somebody bitching and complaining to ruin something. But now I'm with you, and the studio has a lot to do with that too. You know what I'm saying? Because you have the first movie that comes out and it gets so much hype and everybody loves it. And they're so quick to just want to put a sequel out in there that they don't invest as much in the story or in the effects for it or whatever. Then again, they make it softer to make it more kid friendly or whatever. But that's what made it the live action one great. I know we've kind of moved from the cartoon to the live action, but that's what made it so great was that it was dark and it was dirty and gritty and stuff like that. So, but yeah, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I've actually liked what they've done for the most part with their live action movies. Some of them are hit and miss. That newest cartoon that they just made not so long ago was awesome. So I like, This easily could have been number one, but no, it's my number two. But I love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, bro.
What's your number one?
My number one, without a doubt, is Optimus Prime and the Transformers, bro. The Transformers was my favorite cartoon growing up, period. The Transformers, the movie cartoon, is actually in my top 5 list of all-time movies, period. Wow. That's how good that cartoon was. But yeah, Transformers was a given. I had pretty much every action figure. I still have a Megatron that wifey got me when we first got together there. Stashed away somewhere to save it. But yeah, Transformers, that's another one where the live action after the first one kind of got a little wanky there with their live action stuff, but the cartoon was amazing. And again, Transformers the movie, sorry, spoiler if you haven't seen it, but Optimus Prime dies in the beginning of Transformers the movie. So you want to talk about dark shit in the in the cartoons? Like, you literally killed off your main character like 5 minutes into the damn movie. So talk about a kid being traumatized watching a cartoon movie. But it's so good, and it stands the test of time. All my kids, and I mean, my kids range from 28 down to 19, and they all love the Transformers. They love that Transformers cartoon, and the Transformers the movie cartoon is a classic. It's a must watch if you're a Transformers fan at all.
Yeah, my number one fantasy, or my number one Saturday morning cartoon is X-Men. I loved the X-Men. Yeah. Wolverine, like was my favorite, kind of character, like growing up as a kid. Man, they just kind of re-released them on, I think, Disney Plus. So man,
yeah, they continued them. They honestly, now that you mention it, I mean, they weren't on my list because it wasn't a Saturday morning cartoon for me. It was in the early 90s. Those were my high school days. Yes, I'm that old. Those were my high school days, and it was more, you said, it wasn't necessarily Saturday morning. I don't think they were Saturday morning, but so I wasn't watching as many cartoons. But I'm with you. You can't go wrong. I mean, Wolverine is the X-Men. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He was so badass, and if you're a fan of that, then you definitely need to watch the new ones that they just redid on Disney Plus. They basically just continue the story on from where they left off in the early 90s of the X-Men. But no, that's a great number one, the X-Men.
Yeah, honorable mention, Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man that was on Fox.
Yeah.
Also, The Tick. I don't know if you The Tick.
Homeboy is funny as hell. Homeboy is funny as hell.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yeah, I had a few of those too. Again, Scooby-Doo was in my honorable mentions. And yes, I'm this old again. The Smurfs were big when I was a kid. They get some honorable mention. But yeah, Spider-Man and his adventures. They tried to do like Superman and his, you know what I'm saying, and all those. Yeah, man. 80s cartoons were great when I was a kid, man. Like, those Saturday mornings were awesome.
Yeah, that's what I had. I wanted to mention the Spider-Man is in The Tick real quick. That came.
Yeah. Voltron was another one. I know that only had a couple of seasons, but Voltron was an old school cartoon that was a lot of fun as well. So there was a lot of good stuff back in the day. But even some of the newer stuff, like you mentioned, X-Men was more of a 90s one. So I was a little bit older, but yeah, that was good. But I'm a big ass cartoon, bro. Like I'm a big ass kid. I mean, so I still love cartoons. I still watch cartoons. I know it's more anime now, and I watch some of that with my son or whatever. But I'll watch. One of the best movies that I've seen the last several years was the Batman Into the Spider-Verse that they just did a couple years ago. Like, that was a phenomenal cartoon, and that Spider-Man movie was great.
I don't think so. Do they have set? I don't think so. I mean, they just have like Nickelodeon.
I was gonna say they just have stations now that just play cartoons all the time, like Nickelodeon. You know what I'm saying? Disney has their stuff. You know what I'm saying? Where they basically just have cartoons running.
I don't think it's like, it's definitely not like,
it's not like must see TV Saturday morning. Right, Saturday morning routine where you just had them back to back to back. You're saying you had like 2 to 3 straight hours of just back to back badass cartoons and shit that you would watch all morning Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think it's like you turning on Fox on Saturday morning and while your parents are sleeping,
Yeah.
so you can watch the cartoons. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like I don't think it's like that. It is sad. Like that's streaming has killed some of those those things for sure. Yeah, I don't think they do. Like my kids aren't getting up watching Saturday morning cartoons. So
no, they're in their tablets or their computers and whatever, watching videos or whatever the hell they're doing.
Yeah. So it's sad but that's true, man. I think it's dead. Johnny, before we get out of here, do you got anything else you need to dump out for the day or from the week?
No, just I'm saying if I mean we touched on it a bit last week.
Only
with the
13
whole,
and above.
With the whole election thing or whatever. I'm glad it's over, whether you voted in what direction you did or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That bottom line is, you're saying be good, be a good person, be good to each other, help your fellow man or woman. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the way we're gonna be able to like get through anything, is if people actually help each other, look out for each other. Try to think about other people as opposed to only focusing on what you need. And things will be better for a lot of people. So just something that was in my head, because I literally heard people arguing and shit over the election this week, and it's like, bro, it's like, let's just, you know what I'm saying, worry about what you need to do for you and your family or whatever, and if you can help somebody, you'd be surprised how many people can use some help out there. So just be a good person, man, and be good to each other, and it'll pay off for everybody in the long run.
Yeah. Real quick, shout out to my son's soccer team. They won their district championship game on Monday, but sadly, the season came to an end yesterday. They lose in the quarterfinals of the state playoffs. So that if they would have won that one, they would have went to the Final Four. But they lose yesterday in 4-1 to the Missouri Military Academy. Johnny, this goalie that this kid's had. Now to be fair, we didn't get very many shots on him. But this kid was like 6'8", 6'9", straight from Africa. He looked every bit. My son said he's like, Dad, he's 6'8", 6'9", 300 pounds. I'm like, son, I'm not even 300 pounds. But looking at this kid, he was probably every bit 280, 290, 6'8", 6'9". He was a big SOB. Unfortunately, though, they go down. But the Monday night's game was incredible. Great memory for him in that team to win your district, and you get your name on a banner, you get a plaque and everything else. So kudos to that. Shout out to the boys getting it done. But unfortunately, Scott, he was too big to be Manute Bol. He was more like Shaq Diesel. He was Shaq Diesel's son. Like that's how big he was.
But your son's never gonna forget this though. So that's the important part there. And we talked about it like earlier. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm sure some of his best memories is just gonna be just the camaraderie he had with his boys and stuff like that in practice or on the bus rides or whatever. So that's awesome that they got that far, man. That's great, man.
Yeah, so now it's on to basketball for him, but shout out to the soccer team getting it done, and then as far as like winning their district, next thing you know, now it's basketball. So wanted to shout out that. Other than that, this has been another great episode of the Weekly Dump. We'll be back tonight for the NFL recap show. We didn't even talk about the games today, but we'll look at them tonight.
There's football on today, people.
The Ravens Steelers game will be probably the game I want to tune in, other than to the Packers. The Sunday night game's going to be good. The Bills and Chiefs game's going to be good. So there's a lot of good games going on today. Me and Johnny will talk about it all at tonight right here, the Bodkins show at 7:00 Central, 8 Eastern. So tune in, get our live reactions from all of week 11. Jesus, the season is going by fast. So other than that, be a friend, tell a friend, like, subscribe, share. We'll see you then.
Peace.
Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, let's talk sport, friends. Thanks for watching.